Storytelling is not just for fiction. It is a powerful tool in science communication, reaching audiences, helping people to retain and understand complex information, and making science more relatable. This video is one of a 5-part series by FoodStories exploring the use of storytelling for food science communication. Why storytelling? Stories can take countless forms, from a simple metaphor to epic sagas. Research has shown that listening or reading a story can have a biological effect on us. It can affect our dopamine, oxytocin, and cortisol levels, hormones that influence our behavior, decision-making, and memory. At its core, storytelling is about representing or translating complex ideas into relatable and engaging experiences. Usually seen through the eyes of characters, they help the audience understand new concepts and the world around them. In this video, we will give you an overview of the key elements of storytelling, which include key messaging, characters, and the narrative structure. The power of storytelling. In science communication, storytelling can be a game changer. It simplifies complex ideas, making them easier to understand. It makes science relatable by tying it to personal experiences. It evokes emotions, creating a stronger connection with the audience. And it helps the audience remember things more easily compared to other forms of communication. There are many different channels to tell your research story, such as articles, presentations, documentaries, podcasts, social media, and more. Each has different strengths depending on your audience, be it children, the public, policymakers, students, or stakeholders. Understand your audience. The first step for good and effective science storytelling is knowing your audience. Consider their background knowledge, what they already understand, and what they're hoping to learn. Equally important is choosing the right medium to deliver your message effectively. Ask yourself, who is my audience? What do they know? What do they want to learn? And what's the best medium? For young children, simple language and relatable characters work best. An example is Teaching Science Through Stories, a project in the UK that uses fairy tales to talk about science with children. They use an example of Little Red Riding Hood, using it to explain animal natural habitats. Humorous analogies can also make complex topics engaging and memorable for kids. Using wiggly fingers to explain the inside layer of the gut does not only make the concept easier to understand, but also communicates visually the core message: healthy gut, happy you. While analogies can be useful for complex information, ensure they don't oversimplify or skew data, especially when your target audience requires technical details and specialized terms. Using a cut-and-paste analogy to explain gene editing might work well for a general public, but a scientific audience would expect specifics on enzymes like CRISPR-Cas9. Ultimately, effective science communication bridges the gap between complex science and diverse audiences by adapting the message to those listening. How to enhance your story? Great stories usually have the following 3 things: a character, a hook, and emotion. The character might be a scientist, including yourself, a microbe, or a specific food. They help the audience connect and care about the message. A hook is something that grabs the audience's attention, especially at the start of the story, and makes them curious and ready to listen. Here is an example of a hook. Are GMOs good or bad? Genetic engineering is one of the most controversial areas of science. Then there is emotion. Emotional stories are easier to remember and can drive action. Before we tell a story, we need to ask ourselves, what do I want people to feel? Do I want to educate, inspire, or motivate change? What's the best way to connect? If you are a character in the story, you can also add a personal connection, like a moment in your research that surprised you or changed your thinking. Tone also helps make the story memorable. You can choose different tones depending on your goal, serious to highlight important issues, or lighthearted to make people smile. Every good story has a challenge. In science, there are often obstacles. Showing resilience by overcoming a challenge is a simple way of making stories more engaging and relatable to the audience. An easy way to create this pattern in your story is by applying the ABT structure. ABT stands for and, but, therefore. The and is the setup. Where does the story begin? What is the context? Then comes the but, which introduces the challenge or problem. Finally, the therefore. How did you overcome the problem? What was your solution to the challenge? Here is an example of ABT. Food science is essential to public health. Researchers work hard to communicate their findings, but technical jargon and complex data often alienate the public. Therefore, using storytelling techniques like ABT can make science more relatable and impactful. Beware of the risks. Storytelling is powerful, but it comes with risks, especially in science. An engaging story can help people understand and care. However, if it oversimplifies, distorts facts, or skips the data, it can also lead to misinformation, especially in the current online rapid content climate. Tone is also critical in this regard. Always check your story with others to identify if there is anything that could sound offensive, misconstrued, confusing, or lacking in key details. We disengage if we are talked down to, so it's essential to ensure your story creates a dialogue with the audience. In this video, we've offered a glimpse on the key building blocks for crafting stories that resonate. Just by taking the time to think about your target audience, introducing characters and challenges into your story, and being mindful of tone, you are on the right path to start using storytelling for science communication. Want to keep experimenting with new ways to tell your story? Follow the links in the description to check out the other videos of this series. You will also find links to more resources created by the FoodStories Erasmus Plus project, focusing on storytelling in food science communication.